Conversation. Today, we are joined by Suzanne McDonald of Newport Interactive Marketing for a roundtable discussion on with SEO, PPC, social and digital strategists, content strategists, and web developers. And we're talking all about pivoting your brand in overcoming ongoing obstacles, especially with relation to COVID-19 and all the challenges that that presents, but also for many opportunities. So it should be really exciting. Glad to have everyone with us today. And Suzanne, I will pass it over to you.
Yeah, I was just, when you said PPC, I was like, yeah, Ted Ives is supposed to be with us, but well, he'll probably pop on in a few minutes. So we'll just do some quick intros. Mark Collins, if you want to kick it off, and you know, we mentioned earlier that you specialize in local SEO. So let's just like name tagline.
Main tagline is getting any local business, local small to medium-sized business, page one hits in Google search.
Nice. Okay, John Antonacci.
I am Director of Marketing for Gannon & Scott, which is a precious metals refiner. So if you got some gold, don't send it to me.
Good. David, are you able to pop on and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. Property manager for 225 Dyer Street, home of District Hall.
Awesome. Excellent. And Jay Murphy coming in from Massachusetts.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Jay Murphy, and I work in analytics mostly, like helping make sure your measurement is working correctly and tied to your business goals. And we also do SEO and PPC, so I can answer a few questions in that arena as well.
That is great. Yeah, and Jay, like I said, is going to be our August speaker. And we're going to be diving into analytics and goals. And actually, then in our mastermind Q&A, we're going to split it up to a beginner and an advanced. So that'll be really helpful for people. Okay. Jessica.
Hey, everyone. I own Resonate Marketing. I am a marketing and content strategist. So I help people with content marketing, and I'm also a freelance writer. I am really good at figuring out how to connect with people and what to say to them.
And we can vouch for that.
Me too.
Also, another great talk. Another great speaker. Brody, pop on and tell us who you are. No? Oh, there we go.
It's on me.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah.
So my name is Chris Brody. My internet handle is Brody Bits. So in short, I basically do maintain mobile app database component for mobile app framework. It's called Cordova PhoneGap, and in short, it basically to allow help people make mobile apps actually on JavaScript.
Oh, we lost Suzanne.
Sorry about that. I'm back. Michael.
Michael Collins. I'm a UX designer. So helping designers and business owners take their great designs to the next level.
Nice. Awesome. That's always very helpful. Toonie. If anyone doesn't know Toonie. Does anyone in Rhode Island not know Toonie?
Yes, lots of people. I'm the executive director of District Hall Venture Cafe Providence, and longtime member of NIM.
Yes. Okay. Annie.
Hey everyone. Annie Sherman. I'm a former magazine editor and current freelance journalist covering topics ranging from the environment and food to makers and everything happening in Rhode Island. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Annie. Amy?
So I'm Amy. I'm the program manager at Venture Cafe Providence, and I am coming off of a 3-day weekend, so I am very excited to be back.
Nice. Awesome. Well, that's a good sign. Okay, Anna Rains.
Hi, I'm Anna Rains. I'm the owner and founder of Simplified Impact, a growth marketing agency for B2B and service-based businesses.
Awesome. Nicole.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I had to click unmute. My name's Nicole. I've held various marketing positions throughout Rhode Island, And I'm looking for contract positions starting in the fall as long as my kids are in school.
Yes, that's key. That's key. And
But I
Avi,
can
what
work
is,
at night.
oh yeah, there you go. Avi, what is your role at Venture Cafe?
I feel like I touch a lot of things over here in this new space. So do a lot of technical support, packaging up a new podcast of some of the highlights from Venture Cafe, putting a lot of stuff on YouTube, and doing some operation stuff, helping with programming, a little bit of everything.
Nice.
So,
Awesome.
welcome everybody. Glad to be here.
Thanks, Avi. Jordan, you want to pop on and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, hi Suzanne, how's it going? Good seeing you again.
Good to see you.
Yeah, so I'm actually in our building right now. We're operating at a limited capacity, like Tuni has probably said, but right now I'm kind of working on mainly our office hours program in conjunction with the Rhode Island Commerce to help small businesses in Rhode Island.
Awesome. Okay, and Sydney, are you able to pop on for a sec?
Hi, I'm Sydney. I'm the marketing coordinator at Venture Cafe and District Hall Providence. Anything marketing related that you see is usually me doing it.
Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So let's kick off. Let's kick off with questions.
I would just ask everyone, there are a lot of professionals here that work with businesses, clients. What are you seeing the silver linings as, and what problems kind of collectively are you maybe seeing? And you don't have to answer that now, but just kind of things I'm thinking about. As Jordan mentioned, we're working with Rhode Island Commerce Corp running the Small Business Tech Support Program, which is really digital transformation for micro businesses, helping them with their updated growth strategies and a lot of digital transformation to like e-commerce sites and helping them with online payment platforms, and then helping them with email marketing, social media marketing, lots of Mark Collins volunteer hours, helping them, optimize their Google My Business listings and their on and off page SEO. So just stuff that I'm curious about and we are curious about for future programming as well.
So silver linings.
Yeah, as far as like a silver lining, so we're B2B. We deal with a lot of companies, a lot of different industries, manufacturing, semiconductor, jewelry, obviously for precious metals. But one of the silver linings I noticed this year going into this COVID was the cost of advertising, because everybody ran away from it, So what's routinely expensive, like a LinkedIn, really wasn't, from a cost per click standpoint and getting your ads out there. So that's a nice silver lining for us. And the other silver lining was this gave me a lot of time to build a lot of assets, from video aspects, from writing. Jessica's done a ton of articles for us already. So we're able to really create a ton of content in this time and take advantage of it. So that's a good silver lining right there.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that and say, most entrepreneurs, including myself, are guilty of working in their business and not on their business. And this pause has had so many people, like John say, work on their business and get things moving strategically and planning wise and goal wise. So, and the pivoting has been real. People have been able to really pivot, from storefront to online. So it's been good. And when things go back to normal, God willing, people will hopefully have more business because they'll have more online as well as their physical. So.
Another silver lining, sorry, is what I thought of, was the push for this technology. Where a lot more people now are getting used to this aspect. And Mark brings up a good point as far as switching from brick and mortar to e-commerce, like just Zoom conferencing. We've got some relatively older staff members who are just afraid of technology. It's kind of forced them to really dive in. So I think overall, more people are going to be open to these kind of platforms in terms, even from an advertising and a marketing standpoint. That's a nice one. Okay, I'm done.
Other silver linings?
I might just add one, being a content-focused person, with everybody spending maybe more time in front of their screens, which is arguably not so awesome for us in some ways. It also means people were getting really hungry for content. And I saw a lot of small businesses do really creative things with blogs and videos and teaching people things or telling stories and taking the opportunity to show more of the human side of their business, and also to offer help in a lot of really interesting and unique ways, because people were just consuming all this content like crazy. So this is a great opportunity right now for you to think about the stories you can tell, the how-tos you can do, the very simple like life hacks, anything that relates to your business and your brand that you can offer people to enrich their lives right now. People are just hungry for.
I have a
Life
question
hacks.
for Jessica for that. Because, so it's twofold, right? We're all on all the time. So that's good. But then the opposite of that is the space is saturated because people are taking the time. So can you give tips on how to be seen and not be a small fish in this ginormous pond right now?
Yeah, that is such a good point, because, you know, you're getting, probably all of us, like, we're seeing more emails in our inbox from people like launching newsletters, and there are a lot of webinars, there's all kinds of stuff. So that's a really important point. I think the key to standing out is what all marketing really comes back to, which is figuring out what your customers really need and what they really need right now. And what are like their deepest desires, their biggest concerns, the biggest problems they're having. And so when you have email subject lines, when you have blog headlines, video titles, it has to capture their attention by speaking directly to their needs, not promoting your company, your service, your product directly, but saying, hey, I know right now you're struggling with this thing, so I'm going to give you my top 7 tips for doing this. You know, grab their attention with their needs and language that speaks directly to what they want. Then offer useful content. I mean, as John knows, one of the things we work on a lot together is providing really good, solid, actionable info, because people also don't appreciate the bait and switch. So you might throw something up there and it sounds really awesome, and they get in your content and it's kind of light on details and there's not much they can do with it. So promise a lot and then deliver it. Deliver great value, and people will remember that and keep coming back to your content.
One of the things that I say about being a NIM speaker is you have to be willing to give it away, because when you're standing in front of 50 people and you're not being as forthcoming as you could be, it actually erodes your credibility, because it makes people question why you're not giving more. You know, there are a lot of experts in the room. And yes, there will be some people who will take that and adapt it and do it on their own without hiring you. But those people were never going to hire you anyway. Meanwhile, you know, the other 45 people in the room realize, wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. And that is the person to call when I have this problem or a friend needs help with something. And I think that that's really the key. Like, this whole idea of dripping little bits and pieces is just not really helpful at this point. I think people are kind of tired of that. Just emailing me for the sake of emailing me. You really have to be delivering some value.
Yeah, that whole, you know, gated media thing is something that you know, we shy away from over here. And it took some time actually to switch the minds of some people here. 100-year-old company, so they're used to doing things a certain way. So to be able to, like, look, let's give it away for free. It doesn't do us any good to dangle a carrot and to get an email address. Give it away for free, because then you get, like Jessica was saying, that feeling of reciprocity, you know, where it's like you give. Eventually, they're going to say, like, hey, you know what? Let me give these guys a shot.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
What about video? What are people finding with video right now? What's working? What
depends whether or not you have a plumbing problem. I've heard so many stories about people fixing their dishwashers with YouTube, or like washing machine or whatever, you know, so they don't have to bring somebody in.
Yeah.
Door handles, maybe. Yep.
I do want to insert a, you know, one silver lining that's coming up, right? And it's hard to know whether it's 6 months from now or a year from now. But if you've never read about it, Google German economic miracle, okay? So what happened after World War II was they had price controls, everybody was getting their food from the government, all this, you know, it was just total government everything in Germany, right? And the guy, I forget the name of the fellow, but the guy running Germany, German guy running it basically for the US, without checking with you know, his bosses, over a weekend, went on the radio and announced, we've eliminated price controls. We now have a free market. just do whatever you want, right? And basically in the space of about 2 months, they had the most incredible V-shaped thing you've ever seen, and they were super successful, right? And when I look at 40 million people sitting around at home not doing anything, getting government money, at some point, they're going to pass another couple of resolutions. They'll hand out more stuff, but at the point at which they decide not to do that, there's going to be so many people available to work inexpensively. So if you want to scale your business 6 months to a year from now, that's going to be the big opportunity to scale it.
Ted, can you just talk a little bit about your background? We missed you in the intros.
Oh yeah, who am I?
Yeah. Who is this guy?
Just a talking head. Yeah, I have a little agency here in Rhode Island, but I have clients all over the place. We do SEM and some SEO and analytics and things like that, but kind of primarily, Google search type stuff, some paid social things. I'm really from more of a software background, software development type of thing, software product management for many years, but I've been doing this for about 12 years, sort of in the marketing space, and I love it. I mean, it's constantly changing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this COVID thing, I mean, I think we're lucky in that to some degree we're in the right, business. I mean, online marketing is great. You can do it anywhere. And I've had some clients turn stuff off and other clients crank campaigns up more, so it's I really have no complaints as far as this COVID thing goes.
Yeah, and like many of the NIM speakers, Ted speaks at major conferences. Mark, Jay, Jessica, do you have some conferences under your belt? Not yet.
From the motorcycle industry.
Oh, well, that counts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Anna, go ahead, Jay.
I was going to just add on to Ted's silver linings in that you can both be helping by training people or learning. If you've got the time, this is the time to learn things. And if you've got time to, step back from your business, like Mark said, and really think about, what are the strategies that you need to think about, either, when things get back to normal, or even if it stays like this for, another 12 months or so, what are the things that you should be getting into place right now? And so it's a good time to think about rewriting your business plan or writing your business plan if you haven't done it yet.
Or launching a new product. Go ahead, Jessica.
Yeah, and if I could add to that, Jay, I think that's a great point. And this might also be a good time to experiment with things you may not have had the time or the inclination to try in the past. But, we're talking about pivoting, and you might want to think about within your business model, within your brand essence, what are some ways that you might expand? What might be some tangential things or adjacent markets, whatever it is, and test things out. This is a good time to try new stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly. We started doing predictive analytics. We have all this data, and it's like, well, let's try this. And we asked a client, hey, can we use your data, dive into it, present it back to you, and see what you learn? And now it's something that we can offer to other clients as well. So it's been on like the to-do list for, I won't say how long, but, but now it's done. So.
That's great, and a great opportunity to expand your offerings. And ultimately, I mean, I think everybody who's here is in a position really to drive growth, right? And I think it's, in a lot of ways, there's a great opportunity for marketers to rescue a lot of small businesses and a lot of big businesses too, and making sure that they're found or that they are engaging with their core audiences. So Anna, you've been kind of quiet. Do you have a question or want to throw out a tip, or what are you thinking?
I guess Tumi asked about video. So when COVID happened, one of my clients built 55 plus communities in the Hamptons. They have a few of them that they're building. So, and they have to meet their deadlines, right, to the investors on sales. So being closed for a few months, we were falling behind on deadlines. So we started to do Facebook Live viewings of the properties. We actually were able to sell 3 properties through Facebook Live.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're like 500,000 plus properties. So
That's awesome.
that was really cool. I mean, we like produced it pretty well, made it a whole event, but you know, I think that's going to be a trend, and we're going to continue to do it. But I think that video is really important and has a lot of capabilities. And we have a manufacturing client also, same. He was closed, and in order to sell, because he does like bridges, he just did the largest telescope. It's out of Hawaii. It's one of the largest telescopes built.
Cool.
Yeah, and he, you know, people have to come in and check all of his equipment. Like he has to go through all these like checkpoints. So what he did was he bought a ton of cameras and put it into every single one of his machines. And now he's doing Zoom checkpoints, and he doesn't have to fly people in. At that, they're both, most of my clients, well, I would say 30% of my clients are in New York. So nobody wanted to go to New York either way.
Right.
So, yeah. So I think really smart businesses are finding opportunities to change their business and actually grow beyond the COVID. So yeah, those would be two like video things that we did.
Yeah. Well, for C Rose Montessori, and I'm one of the co-founders and the board president, we were expecting maybe some shifting in our population, maybe some attrition because of COVID. But so we did video tours. The teachers led a video tour, which gives a lot of opportunity for people to not just see what the schoolhouse looks like, but also the teacher, and in some ways better than an in-person open house where it's usually kind of crowded. People have kids with them. You know, here is more of a focused situation. Then we followed that up with a Zoom call, and then we offered in-person tours that, you know, were socially distant and the whole thing. But what's interesting is that not a lot of people signed up for the events, but there's definitely a lot of appetite for on demand. You know, like I can't get to this right now, but I want to see this, and you know, after my kids go to bed, I'm going to sit down with a glass of wine and I'm going to watch this video, and then they follow up on their own. So that has been really effective. But even though we haven't seen, and I would say for a lot of businesses, you know, if you're doing an event and you're doing it virtually or whatever, and maybe your numbers aren't quite what you wanted them to be, there's still a lot of on-demand appetite. Are other people seeing that too?
Yeah, I think you guys both just brought up, both Suzanne and Anna, really good points about thinking about what you can offer digitally or virtually, you know, and how your products or services, likely even some of the existing assets you have, might be repackaged into something that can be done virtually. I definitely think there's a lot of demand for that. And your point about the on-demand consumption is really important, because with kids home and parents trying to work around taking care of them, and I'm seeing lots of people's schedules get completely turned upside down, so that now they don't work at all in the morning. Their work might start at noon, it might go till 8, you know, like you have to think about the fact that everybody's lives are just inside out right now.
From a video standpoint, for those who don't know, prior to Gannon and Scott, I was with Anima Studios for a few years, a video marketing company. One of the talks on NIM that I did for them is on video strategy, so you can download that. And I really dove in the weeds. I was told it was like drinking out of a fire hose, you know, all the info in there. So I'll try and keep this short. One of the aspects that I wanted to do is get testimonials from customers. And it was really centered around events. There were a lot of events and trade shows that were canceled, obviously. So what do? I can't really, the thought of sending a production crew to all of our customers' locations was a little daunting. I mean, you're talking maybe like just $5,000 alone in travel. But there's a platform out there, OpenReel, and you can commandeer someone's cell phone and take it over from a director standpoint, record it in 4K, and basically you've got your testimonial there. We had the guys in different locations in California, Illinois, basically walk around their own plant, and get their own footage, and it came out pretty damn good for a cell phone. And you know, we were able to film it in a way that looked very cinematic as well. So it just a little tidbit, look up OpenReel if testimonial is the way you want to go, which I recommend. Get somebody else to talk about your company, get it on video, and then just use those assets. And you can get as much as you can and then cut it down into little snackable content, where you can just take snippets and then just throw it on different social media that you own or advertise with. It's well worth the investment, OpenReel.
And the great news is that we're recording this, and Avi will have it edited and uploaded to our YouTube. What's today? Tuesday, probably by the end of the week. And if it works, then he might even create a podcast with session episode with this content. We're finding great value in that because it's evergreen, right? So to speak, it's summertime. People are on wacky schedules, like Jessica just said. Amy just commented, even some of our content, our programming, she'll catch up with it via video post-event, and it's created a lot of value for our sponsors and partners. So that's been a silver lining for us. And we have a ton of, we recently did an offshore wind program where we had quite a few people from Switzerland, the UK, all over the place, which didn't exist when it was in person. It was much harder to pull all of that knowledge capital into a program. So that's one of the silver linings that I think is here to stay in the hybrid version.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think too, go ahead, Jessica.
It's one thing, because I'm such a total content geek, that something Toomey said just struck me as being really smart. There's sort of been a push lately for modular content lately in a lot of content marketing realms. And it's a means of creating content in like pieces that can either stand alone or be fit together so that you can create long form content, short content, social media posts. So doing something like that, like taking a video like this and pulling out bites of it that you could use in all kinds of places. You can post on social media, you can build into other videos. It's really smart. And right now, if people think about creating their content in those ways, like how can I repurpose pieces of it elsewhere and how can I recombine things, you can get a lot of mileage out of everything that you do. So just a cool thing to think about.
Yeah, I think that's, so Ted Ives a few years ago gave a talk about content strategy, and I think the catchphrase that came out of that was Thanksgiving dinner. Do you remember that, Ted?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I can show, there was one really cool slide if I can find it here.
Can I, while you are looking for that, can I give the gist of what Thanksgiving dinner is?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so you basically, and think about content, right? You create this Thanksgiving dinner, right? With the this and the this and that and the turkey, and then you make the stroganoff, and then you make the turkey sandwiches, and you figure out like how do you slice and dice your Thanksgiving dinner into multiple content forms. And one of the things that we do with Newport Interactive Marketing is so this actually will turn into a podcast that I call the Interactive Marketing Insights Show. Right. So this is really designed to kind of get people thinking about our speaker and the topic and get that on the podcast. And that's another, awareness piece for NIM in general. And then NIM, we typically go into the deep dive on our NIM events because it's July and we're normally all having cocktails on top of the Viking Hotel. We decided to mash it up with Tips Night, which is also super popular. So we'll have more people and more tips coming on Thursday evening. But this was really designed to talk specifically, we have all these amazing experts and talk about pivoting from a business sense. And then on Thursday, we're going to do more general tips, one of Kristen Haley always has really great tips, kind of some of the little techie things that you never heard about. And generally it's a good opportunity to ask questions because they have a lot of experts on at NIM events. And then also, everybody throwing out little tips like video, for example, virtual tours and setting up cameras and all those little bits and bobs. Okay, so Ted's gonna show us.
just one slide. It's kind of cool. So
nice.
This is really kind of like what you were talking about, right? People can do this from any angle. So this one is sort of where you take a white paper and you say, I'm going to write the world's most amazing white paper on some topic, maybe for a B2B client. and you do 10 pages and there's 5 diagrams, right? And you can just break it up 50 ways, right? You could talk about it in a podcast. You could do a presentation at a trade show. You know, I remember when trade shows actually existed. You could go to them. But the cool thing that a lot of people don't do is transcribing. So I mean, like, you know, I anything you do that's verbal or video, you should just get it transcribed. I mean, you've got so much content that's available that you can just, you know, you can just steal your own content basically. I've been doing a lot where I'm interviewing clients. I'll interview somebody for an hour, and you know, you get 3 or 4 huge articles out of that, right? It's huge. So, and then yeah, you kind of just take these things and break them up and repurpose them and regurgitate them a couple of ways. This just illustrates starting with a white paper, but you could start with a speech, you could start with a presentation, you could have the arrows go other ways. But that's kind of fun. So I just want to.
No, that's exactly it,
right?
there. The Thanksgiving dinner.
So.
Well, and back when I used to be a reporter a long time ago for a weekly paper on the Cape, I used to cover all the town meetings. So I would cover school committee, and then I'd write the meeting story. This is what they talked about, the meeting story. And then, you know what, if it's important enough for the school committee to spend 30 minutes in a meeting, in a public meeting discussing it, chances are there's more to it than what I can actually, you know, write, because sometimes they'd be like on Thursday nights and then I had to get it in the paper for Friday. So I wrote this huge story on foreign language in middle schools. I wrote, this is a long time ago, I wrote about MCAS and like these massive, massive stories. So if you think about it, like anytime you're talking to somebody, there's so many different angles that you can take. And it's important to kind of recognize those. And ultimately, I mean, I guess what I'd love to hear from everybody is, and I know the real answer is it depends, or you should test it, but are we finding any particular, you know, best practices with blog lengths or video lengths? Just curious if we have any quick hits on that.
I think Mark should jump in on that.
I think embedding a video with you talking about what you do right on your homepage. Google now has automatic transcription at the touch of a button. So if you do a video and you talk for 1 to 3 minutes talking about what you do and who you are, embed that on your homepage. There's SEO value in having a transcribed video embedded on your homepage for sure.
Mark, quick question. Does it matter about that content versus the video itself? Like, does it have to be about you? Because like Jessica's point, when you're talking about yourself, really nobody cares, you know, like in my opinion, nobody cares. So if they care about themselves and what you can do for them. So my question is do you feel like the SEO would be more improved based on the messaging, or is it simply the fact that a video is there?
Yeah, absolutely perfect question, because just like the Google review, it's what they say in the words. All Google wants to hear is the words. So, you know, if you are a plumbing contractor, you know, they want to hear, you know, if Sally comes on and says, you know, John Smith is the best plumber in Cranston, that's what I want to hear. So I don't care who it is either. So.
And the neat thing, you can measure how far people go through videos, so you can test different lengths and see what works best. And you can do it with blog content too. You can see with longer or shorter blogs what works best for your clients. What do they respond to? So you can play around with it. But I see in the data that exactly what Mark and John were talking about. You know, talking about yourself isn't as useful as testimonials, people saying, you know, these guys are great, that's who you should work with. So, but data is where, you know, gives you the answer.
I think too, talking about length of blog posts, because that's something I deal with a lot of my clients. It depends on the purpose of the content and what the audience is looking for out of it. If they want a deep dive and into like an in-depth topic, you're looking at, you know, a good 2,000, 3,000 words, which is also can be a good thing for SEO. But they might also just want like a quick snackable kind of tidbit, which is about a 300-word blog. And what you can do is, and again, I think, and Mark, I'll defer to you being the expert, but I'm pretty sure that having a lot of internal links on your site, linking, you know, among your different blogs is really valuable, especially because you're giving more authority to your pages.
Yep.
The more you link to them. So you could build like your cornerstone content to be a long form piece doing a nice deep dive, showing your credibility, your authority, giving really good value to your audience. But then you can also go into some of the little, like the topics you mentioned in that deep dive blog, and make them smaller blogs. Like, hey, here's a quick explanation of what I meant by this term. And that might be your little 300 piece. And these guys can all link to each other. So it's a great way to build that sort of, that web of content and give people the option of a deep dive or just a quick sort of learning point.
Annie,
Yeah,
do you have
so-
any tips as the journalist in residence here?
Yeah, I keep hearing clients, and my clients are a little different than yours, I think. I do very little blogging, and mostly my topics are far deeper dives into things like climate change and offshore wind and the COVID pandemic and its influence on school kids' food. So I'm trying to transition a little bit to promoting myself. I work at home and I'm self-employed, so just me. And so I'm trying to figure out how to reach a different, larger audience outside of Rhode Island. So I'm not a tip sharer per se, but I have learned that editors are really hard to get in touch with when there's a pandemic. So, and they're mostly my clients at the moment, just because I'm more familiar with that kind of media landscape with my experience in editing magazines and writing. So I don't have any tips to share at the moment because I'm still learning, but if there's anything
No, that's
else
a
I
good
can
tip though.
help. Yeah, I have
You
to harass my
pivoted though,
people.
so it's kind of
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
because you are in a major pivot.
For sure. Yeah, I covered travel before and now not so much. So I'm digging more into deeper topics about the public health, which isn't a strength of mine. So I'm definitely trying to think more in depth about what's happening now and how I can cover that with my experience in journalism and my expertise in Rhode Island and the topics that matter to its readers. So trying to understand the media outlets, for example, like RI Monthly and Echo RI and Edible Roadie. I work for those clients regularly, and I'm trying to pitch targeted ideas that are relevant to their readers and use the resources I make in those interviews and pivot to another audience as well. So I'm kind of cross-pollinating a lot of different resources.
It seems like there's an opportunity to take Rhode Island as a showcase of like why are things working in Rhode Island that are not working elsewhere? You know, maybe pitching.
We're a
that
great
to
test
different
market because we're so small. I mean, Heineken tested Heineken Light many years ago here, and it was great because we like beer. So that worked out. But we're a small market, so that really helps.
Yeah.
I have a question for the gang here because this is something, obviously, look behind me, innovation is for everyone. That is our motto. We live it. We try to promote diversity and inclusion in everything we do. We are more so committed to it than ever before. I just listened to Reid Hoffman's Masters of Scale podcast last night, and I'm re-listening to it. They have the new Rapid Response series.
Oh yeah, that's great.
The
It's such a good
editor from
series.
Fast Company. And it's the CEO of PayPal on this current one, and their $530 million investment in fighting racism, systemically. And I'm looking at us, and we're all white for the most part. And why don't we have more people of color? We have like good gender diversification in NIM in our communities here, but I'm thinking a lot about the digital divide and the inequities that are created by that. We focus a lot on that in our Future of Education series, working with the Office of Innovation, and Ashley Medeiros, those of you who know her, has gone deep down that rabbit hole and isn't letting up. She's like a dog with a bone, thank God.
She's awesome.
But just throwing it out there at you all and thinking about the digital divide and how we I know I'm executive director of this organization, but obviously my background is with you guys and I'm part of your gang. How can we help more businesses that are owned by people of color? Just a question, because
I have to say, yesterday I was looking at the photos of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, and we could start by not having a 100% white Federal Reserve Board handing out money to trillions of dollars to the entire American people. But that's just my view. it starts at the top, you know?
One of the things that I do, so I wasn't born here, I'm Colombian, and my family immigrated here, and I was raised very immigrant. So I'm not very white. But one of the things that I've done since I started my company in 2017 is that pro bono, I support and fully act two nonprofits. One is Holistic Life Foundation. If anyone wants to check them out, they started in, oh my gosh, they would be great to bring to me into Newport. Okay,
well, I'm in Providence and Newport, all over Rhode Island.
But. Rhode Island, so they go to Massachusetts a lot. So Atman and his brother and Andres, who started the organization.
What is the name of the organization again, Anna?
Holistic Life Foundation. 2020 has done like tons of. I mean, they've been everywhere. There's a movie about them. They're very big. I work pro bono for them. They're amazing. They're my favorite client. And I treat them as a client. They go through our entire process. There's nothing different from them and anybody, some of the other businesses that are paying a mighty dollar to work with us. And that was something that I really wanted to implement. But this organization went to school, graduated, and said, we want to go back to Baltimore and give back. They are 3 young Black men who grew up with meditation. And when they got to one of the worst schools, which is the school they had grown up and wasn't that way when they were growing up, they're about like 37-ish, 40-ish now. They had graduated college and they said to them, hey, we want to bring meditation to the school. And the school looked at them and said, we have some really delinquent kids in the basement. And I know I went to, I grew up very close to New York City. So like my school was like that too, where like, if you were like an A student, you were like, your classes were up top. And if you were like a D student, your classes were in the basement. I don't know why they do that, but that's how it was. So, you never wanted to be the kid in the basement. So the school kind of functioned the same way. And they said, there's, the school's in the basement. They're probably not going to graduate. You can work with them. They worked with them for 12 months and 95% of those kids went on to college, graduated, and 50% of them went back to work with them and give back. They mostly work with inner city kids. And I think it's about that, almost like what Ted was saying, is just looking for those opportunities where we do have the abilities to grow these businesses and maybe providing even like once a month consulting to other businesses and help them grow and like kind of bring them up with you. I heard, what's his name? He's some influencer in Boston. If I told you his name, everybody would know him, but I can't remember his name. I heard him speak at Social Media Marketing World, which I don't really like that conference anymore, but Sue and I used to go all the time. And he said, bring your people up with you. And that like really resonated with me at the time. I was working in a corporate agency. And I felt like I really wanted to do that. So, and I'm not just trying to be like, whatever, but I'm just saying like there are opportunities. And if you wanted to meet the people from Holistic Life Foundation and maybe do some programs and just bring like more color into whatever. I mean,
Amy, did you write that down?
Phenomenal.
I've seen them. I think I saw them on 2020.
They've been everywhere. So yeah, I saw them speak and I was like, I need to work with you. Like I'm like obsessed and I've been following. They were like, yeah, they're just the most beautiful people in the world. And that's what they do. They bring a whole different view of what an inner city kid can be and should be and how they can, they change lives really, because some of these kids they tell me stories because I meet with them all the time and they're like, where these kids have gone from all of the drama and the things that they face with every day. And because of the work in meditation and work in mindfulness that they're doing, where they're like, one girl was like about to punch another girl in the face and she's like, you're lucky I meditate. She backed off, like things like that. So it's like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunity.
I've heard their studies results.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. And they're like the most down to earth, like just simple.
Do either of you know the Intention Peace folks down at URI?
Mm-mm.
You should look into that organization. It's called Intention Peace. It's a volunteer thing. They're associated with URI, and they do. I think they go into classrooms and teach kids meditation, like you're talking about, for what do you call that? Nonviolent.
Oh yeah.
de-escalation.
Are they part of the nonviolence, the, what is that called at URI?
I don't know. I mean, I have a friend who's, a couple friends involved in it, but.
I guess, but my question was more about how can we help these small businesses and minority communities to
So
grow?
I have a quick pivot on that question, and that is I just launched an online training course that is course, internship, and then interviews. And it's to become a remote digital marketer. And currently we're offering it to recent college grads. But once we beta test it, my goal is to be able to offer it to disadvantaged communities and hopefully get some funding to do that. Because currently my research shows that, say, for example, someone like, let's say the GED population, for them to go through some type of career training, it's most likely a CNA program. But a remote digital marketing assistant, right? You can do flex hours like I do with my interns, right? So let's say you are home and you have small children and you find it impossible to leave the house, basically. Well, this has flexible hours, it's work remote. And basically the prerequisite to it is to have good writing skills. But all the technology pieces we can teach. And also the course.
What about language barriers, Suzanne? Have you thought about that?
Well, I think that the language barrier might actually be an asset, right? So that if we can, potentially we'll get Anna to teach the whole course and she could do it in Spanish. And, but it could be an asset, right? Because maybe that's another opportunity or silver lining is that, if we have more marketing toward Spanish-speaking people in this country, right, that maybe that's an opportunity. Yeah. But it's not something, we just launched it. So, yeah. And in fact, if anybody wants to tell me what I missed, I'm going to put the website in the link in the chat. Love to get, it's ROI in you.
Good name.
Yeah, thanks. And really the whole idea is to help, as digital agencies, how can we help scale? And part of it is the problem, and Anna and I have talked about this, is finding reliable people, right? And part of the soft skills of the course are to, teach you good routines and how you can be reliable and work remote, because it's definitely a trick, as I think everyone now understands.
We've been talking about for years with intern training, right?
Yeah. And then also there's a component for the internship to be working with solopreneurs, social enterprise businesses, and I think that that's an opportunity to help elevate businesses who maybe can't afford people like us, right? Who, have mortgages to pay and things like that. But if we can train students or recent college grads in all these skills and then have them work with a small business or a social enterprise organization, then and help elevate them. So there are a lot of layers of opportunity built into the sauce there.
I do like your question, Avi, in the chat.
Yeah. How would increasing diversity within the marketing strategy / support services impact approaches, outreach, and new market opportunities?
Yeah, I've actually got if I could just throw out something really quick, I know we're out of time here, but to Avi's point, some of you guys know I do a lot of volunteer coaching, advising, presenting with the Social Enterprise Greenhouse. And I have worked with a lot of entrepreneurs of color who are social entrepreneurs, partly because they do a lot of outreach in that community. So if anybody wants to donate some time to people from, really underserved communities, SEG is a great way to reach them. I've had the opportunity to do a lot of it. What I have found, to answer Avi's question, is that a lot of times, those of us that have been doing marketing for a long time kind of take it for granted that everybody knows what we're talking about when we throw certain terms and certain things out there. But you may be working with somebody for whom they need like super basic, help and instructions. And it's actually really fun to kind of get back to basics and to help somebody who is just dipping a toe, like maybe a solopreneur launching a social enterprise that needs you to make things very clear, very simple, and very accessible. And it's actually really great practice in having to sort of remind yourself, like, why do I do what I do and what am I really doing? Because you drop the lingo, drop the sort of high level stuff, get back to basics, and it's good for you, and it's also really helpful for these communities. And I think the more content we can create that's at that very simple, accessible level, the more you'll be able to reach communities that traditionally maybe haven't had access to the kinds of resources that some of us have.
Yeah, we need to get this information out to those communities. I just dropped also the link to our small business tech support program, and everyone is assigned a concierge that helps meet them where they're at, identify exactly where they're at, because just like you said, Jessica, they're all over the place. And Mark is one of our busiest volunteer advisors in this program, because everyone needs help with their Google My Business and their local SEO. But yeah, thank you.
I just want to add on to something Jessica mentioned, and by working with people also on that level and really adjusting your approach to marketing, it can also, support the markets that the clients are also trying to reach, which maybe your existing strategy might not be best suited for. So that's a really important shift.
Yep.
I'd like to, just before we go, to thank Anna for her information, because I've worked with charities and it's rewarding, but now what I'm going to try to do is just go work with minority charities, and hopefully we can make a difference just by that little pivot. So
if I can mention one locally here in Rhode Island, Youth Build Rhode Island, it's fantastic. Work with them, and just to get back to the point is like, how do you help out? Really, we got to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable and getting into these situations that we're not normally in. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have met a few people and brought me to Youth Build Rhode Island. It's a great little organization that needs a lot of help right now. So.
Any of you, we are deeply committed to that, and it can't just be SEG and us. We all have to do it. So if you can continue to just shoot me an email with anything that comes to mind in any of these organizations that we can help feature and get noticed, to get more volunteers signed up, and just to continue to promote entrepreneurship and innovation in minority communities, that would be great. Thank you, Suzanne.